talk about 14 centuries ago, I can't show you a video of Prophet Muhammad's 40 years and say, look, there's the proof, right? When we use this word proof, we have to try to understand exactly what we mean by that.
But
because for you, clearly proof means
Content over everything.
something completely different.
Okay, I've got an example. I've got an explanation.
So you don't accept the... Sorry. You just said...
Oh, no. Can I just answer his point before?
No, we've just responded to something you said.
Yes, but I can give you an explanation of why his illiteracy would probably not be...
No, that's not the point. You said you would expect the Quran to say he's illiterate, yes? And it does. So now what?
I'd have to reread the...
Read it for you.
This is like 7 years that I...
That's what I'm saying to you.
See, listen, the amazing thing is that people who've studied the Quran, like for example, I've mentioned it many times before, Professor Raymond Farid, who's a very literate man because he studied classical Arabic poetry.
Yes, I've heard.
Yes?
You mentioned this guy last time.
Right.
Yeah. But
Now,
this is subjective.
Okay, he's a non-Muslim.
He
does an academic research of the structural elements of the Quran. Okay, he's got no interest in becoming Muslim.
But this is why I said that...
Please, listen, let me just finish. Let me just finish. Right? He has no interest in accepting Islam. It was just purely out of interest that he did what he did. And somebody said to him, the Quran actually sounds very sort of poetic as well. We don't regard it as poetry.
Oh yeah.
And so why don't you have a look at that? So he had a look at it as a cursory interest. He studied it in detail, and his academic view was that the way that this is constructed, the complexity and the frequency of these very incredibly sophisticated patterns could not be the work of any man or men for that reason. Now, that was enough to convince him, based upon the evidence that he uncovered, that this is a book from God. Now,
there's people would say
my
that
point
about
to you,
art, like many artists.
My point to that it came from God.
Yeah, but they'd say it in like this is so good, it must have come like it's like the highest kind of like compliment.
Lister, can I just say something? Lister, can I just say something?
It's subjective.
Listen,
you can't.
Listen, can I just say something?
Go on.
Subjective is a person's own opinion about something, right? Where it becomes a little bit more academic is that now he backs it up with...
But okay, so now...
Lister, let me just finish.
But now you're talking about academics, but you don't believe in evolution.
Lister, hold on a
so
second.
you believe in academics when it suits you,
Lister.
but you don't believe in academics when it doesn't suit you.
Don't allow him off the hook. You had him right on the hook. He made this claim that
And
Muhammad...
then he drops himself in it by
No.
showing his own bias.
Not at
He
all.
goes
Lister,
academically when it
Lister,
suits his
Lister,
argument,
Lister.
but he won't go for
Lister, no disrespect.
academic
Do you
when-
think evolution disproves the existence of
Lister.
God?
No, I don't.
So then what's the problem then?
No,
Lister.
well, why do you go against academic science?
Who says we
This-
do? Who says we do?
Lister, we can rinse everything you've got to say.
Who says
I
we
want
do?
to rinse this particular
Because you
thing.
don't understand evolution if you think that we came from a
I don't
fish.
think you understand evolution, to be honest. Which model of evolution do you believe is true? Which model?
Which model?
Yeah, which version of it?
You want to Google that as well?
There's 5 versions. Which one is true? Yeah. Which one?
The overarching.
We're not going to go into this right
the
now. I've
polls.
told you we can rinse you on every single thing you're saying, but I particularly want to rinse you on this particular thing. So, you've made the claim that Muhammad was a literate genius.
Furry animal.
You don't believe he was illiterate. Now, we provided evidence that he was illiterate. Now, you give me anything that refutes that. Anyone that says he wasn't illiterate.
Okay.
Do you have anything? Yeah, no, but he thinks he could. He thinks he was a literate genius. So do you have anything to support what he's saying? I'm not interested in could, woulda, shouldas. My brother, one second. Forget could, woulda, should. Forget could, woulda, should.
These are just
Forget could,
stories,
woulda,
isn't
should.
it?
We've shown you what you asked for. You said, I want the Quran to say Muhammad was illiterate.
No, but it doesn't necessarily.
So why'd you
say
ask for it
that.
then? Why did you ask for it then?
Okay, I'd have to research the.
Unlettered prophet.
Let me.
It's more specific than that.
Huh?
It's more specific than just
Anyway.
It's the word similar to another word.
It's much more-
If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But if I find evidence of this that I know that you should know about,
Can I give
then
you
it just
something?
kind of highlights.
Can I
your-
suggest something?
Anyhow, right. So we've said now, we've given you evidence, we've provided the reasons why we believe he was illiterate.
The verse I have is different to that verse, by the way.
What?
The verse that I have is different to that verse,
Oh,
more
Go
clear.
on then, go on, give us the verse. Hear the verse.
So-
Let the Quran speak for itself.
So why don't you read it for me? So this is chapter 29, verse 48. Just read it out loud.
39, 48.
Yes, this is chapter 39. Read verse 48.
48.
Just read it out. And this is spoken to Muhammad.
And you did not recite before it any scripture, nor did you inscribe one with your right hand. Then, i.e. otherwise, the falsifiers would have had cause for doubt.
So the Quran is saying you couldn't read and you couldn't write. If you could, then the people
Would say you did.
who bring this argument that you're bringing would have had cause for doubt.
Okay, when was this revealed?
So the Prophet Muhammad during his time that he was
Was this in Medina or Mecca?
It's irrelevant.
I don't know if I'm honest with you, but what's the relevance of that point?
Because if people are making the claim to him, to try and say this isn't coming from you, this isn't coming from God, you're literate, then he would put something in like that in there.
No, opposite way around. So now,
To try and
so let's
prove
flip
it.
this argument then. If he's responding to people who say you can read and write, then all of the people that followed him that had access to this verse, which would have been everyone essentially, because when the words were revealed, they were orally transmitted to the people immediately. So there was no way of him jotting it down because he couldn't read or write. It was an oral transmission, and it was immediately recorded. So there was no editorial process. You couldn't go in afterwards and say, you know what, adjust this because I didn't mean it that way. It was already out there. So there was no control over the way that the word was recorded by the other people. Now all of these people, and there were thousands of them, and let's say it was later, let's say it was in Medina, and it was hundreds of thousands of them at that stage. Well, all of them lack the integrity to call this out? Of someone saying, so they're reading a book and this man is saying that he's the messenger of God, and the book says that he can't read and write. Actually, I know you can read and write.
It's a lie.
So what would I do in that scenario?
But hold on.
Just give me the scenario.
If the Quran was the first book and there wasn't much literature before the Quran, who's going to have the ability to write things down to say Muhammad is actually literate?
No, you just missed the
you
point.
missed the point.
You're not listening.
If all of these people, now let me put myself in a scenario of someone who knows that the Prophet Muhammad could read or write, so I'm taking your position at the time, and I've seen this verse that he's brought that says you can't read or write. I've shown you. So let me read the verse out again, and the verse is, and you did not recite before it any scripture, nor did you inscribe one with your right hand, then indeed otherwise the falsifiers would have had cause for doubt. So the verse says that you can't read and you can't write. If you could have, then the people who wanted to falsify you would have had reason to doubt, which is the position that you're taking. Now all of the people who had access to this, who knew that the Prophet Muhammad, taking your example, could read or write, what would they do?
They would know the Quran's false.
They would reject the religion wholesale.
Because they know that's a
what
lie.
does history tell you that happened in that time? The people wholesale became Muslims. So the historical
No,
fact.
I know they wholesale became Muslims.
No, not only that, but the ones that were the enemies of Islam, when they heard those verses, what would they have said? They would have rejoiced.
They said, how does an
They
illiterate
would have said,
man
look,
come out of the mountain blazing
you've
with
just said
poverty?
you just said
But do
something
you-
that's a lie.
But do you think people were as rational back then as we are now? Or do you think we're less rational?
Listen,
We're less
really.
rational now.
I think
We're
you're less
less
rational.
rational now.
To be
I'll tell you
honest.
why.
Yes.
I'll tell you why.
You think so?
Yes.
To
Because
say
we want to
that-
see everything in front
to
of
say
us.
that someone that's historically documented as
Well,
illiterate.
that's rational, isn't it?
No,
To see
just
everything
no.
in front of us.
To say that someone historically
No, irrational.
who historically is documented as being literate and unable to read and write, to say that this person was then a literary genius who did things that were unavailable to him. So travelled all over the world, gathered all this information about different religions, worked out how to describe natural phenomena in an accurate way that wasn't available for, and etc., etc., etc. And all these that you attribute to one person. So don't deal with one point in that. Deal with the concepts.
Full paradigm.
But
No, because-
you're taking contrary information and you're accepting all could be true at the same time. That's irrational.
All the things that you just said, like explaining natural phenomenon.
That's one thing.
No, but all the rest, like when we had this conversation, the things that I couldn't answer at the time, I went home, researched it, and
You're talking
found
about natural
other.
phenomena. That was one verse. Okay,
other,
take natural
like,
phenomena
logical.
out. Forget natural phenomena.
No, but
What's the next part of it?
even things like.
Do you accept Muhammad wasn't illiterate? After what we presented?
No, because I
You still don't?
No, because that is just a logic game of like it's like a wordplay. If this then that. It doesn't really. It
Oh,
doesn't
okay, I'll make it
follow.
easy for you.
It doesn't
If I
follow
was
the-
pretending to you I'm getting revelation from God, right, and you knew I could read and write, and then I bring this revelation that says I can't read and write, what would you think? What would you think? Would you say this is wrong?
If this guy is
Well, you understand my point. I said it. I'm saying to you,
Hyperskeptical.
you know I can read and write. I'm bringing something to you that says I can't read and write.
how many people do you think knew that he could read?
cartoon.
or
I'm asking you a simple
couldn't
question.
read?
Why should
I don't know how many.
I'm
people
asking
could-
you. I'm talking about me. You know I can read and write. I bring something that says I can't read and write. Is that true or not?
If I know you can read,
Yes.
then no,
It's
not.
false.
It
Now,
is.
if that thing told you to do things that's going to cost you your families, and would you follow it, knowing it's a lie?
No.
No. But they did follow it.
But how did they know that he could read or could not read or write? Maybe he just kept that thing private.
So now you're saying the literary genius that knew. One second. So now you're saying he's a literary genius that nobody knew about.
So there were two ways.
apart from
40 years.
apart from his
idiot.
his followers.
There were
what
two-
he
There was no
ways.
followers.
He had who wrote the
No,
Hadith?
when he
Scribes.
came with revelation, there was no followers.
Of course, yeah.
Right. So you're saying
But he gave.
Have you heard your claim? Your claim now is this. He was a literary genius, the Shakespeare of his time, that travelled the world, but nobody knew it.
Maybe he was like a Stephen Hawking's guy and he did everything in his head.
Maybe he
Who
could fly.
knows? Maybe he did fly on a
this
on
is
a
how
horse
ridiculous
back
it's
up
getting.
to. Yeah, maybe he could fly
And
on
you
a
think we're
horse.
more
How
rational
ridiculous-
in this day and
How
age?
ridiculous could it be? Maybe he could
This-
fly
this
off on
is
a
the
horse.
irrationality.
Do you not
of
understand?
You just said maybe he could fly. That's ridiculous, but he did fly off.
Have you just?
didn't he?
Are you hearing
He
yourself?
went on a winged horse.
On a fly, not a winged horse.
Lister,
What
come
was
back
it?
to Earth. Come back to Earth. Right.
See, you're see the thing is the thing.
You're
hyperskeptical.
holding on to things now which are
Yeah.
ridiculous.
You're hyperskeptical.
No,
History tells us he couldn't read and write. You're claiming he could.
You know what?
So bring any evidence.
You know
to
what
support
would be
you're saying.
nice?
There
You know
is-
what would be nice? It would be nice if you applied the same level of skepticism to the claim that your father is your father.
Oh, I have done.
Oh, wait, when was the DNA
You,
test?
you said it was 99.9%.
When was the DNA
Okay,
test?
Like,
so-
I want you to apply the same skepticism, but you're applying to this, to the claim
go.
that you make that your father is your father. Then I would say you're rational and you're
And I want you to ask your doctor for his certificate before you get any medication from
like I
him.
said, if
because it's possible that your father's not your father.
And then when you get the medication, Google the medication to make sure it does what it says it claims to do.
You could get doppelgangers, people who look like some other people, but they're not related at all. You
Are you gonna show us a picture of your dad
You could be
now?
the child of a cousin.
So you're going to show me a guy
could
with
be
long hair and a
adopted.
goatee beard?
no, here he is with
Looks
bald
nothing,
head.
looks nothing like you.
Nothing like me. Okay. Not many people see this.
Go
Not
on.
many people see this. But look at this hairline.
Wow.
Okay. What's that
I
mean?
see now why you've got.
Are you saying you two are the only bald people in this world?
No, I'm saying it's very unlike. Like
No, it's not.
we
No,
are.
it's
We've
not.
got the same face structure and everything.
Well, let me have a look. Nah.
I think that looks like. I think that looks like. I think you two look pretty closely related. But this is what I mean. You don't apply that level of skepticism that you're applying to this.
Because I don't
Which has
need
this.
to. Even if my dad wasn't my dad, I wouldn't care because he
That's
still
not the
brought
point.
me up
No,
as my
that's
dad.
not the point. That's not the principle.
No, it is.
No, it's not.
It's an irrelevant. It's an irrelevant.
I don't- it's
thing
not
that I
irrelevant.
don't care
Hamza,
about. Okay, so
Okay,
my,
let's calm things down a bit. Look. All we're saying is this.
No, because they're on point.
But we're going around in circles.
So let's just understand. All right, let me just say this last thing. If you don't mind. So we provided all our historical evidence why we come to the conclusion that Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam wasn't illiterate, and you now still say he was literate, and you have no evidence.
no, I'm saying it's still a possibility.
We've got no evidence.
Look,
We've got no evidence.
Well, you've not got.
No, we give you our
proof.
evidence. No, we give you our evidence. We give you our reasons why.
No, but it's not.
No, just listen to what I'm saying. Do you have anything to counter it?
It's not convincing.
He's doing.
Do you have anything to counter it?
unbiased
Do you have anything
evidence.
to counter it?
Logic, yeah.
No, have you got any history that counters it?
I was giving you the reason why religion was
No.
probably
Do you have
created.
No, I said do you have
So-
any? No, forget that. Do you have any?
No, because the thing is, you don't believe in evolution.
No, I'm saying to you very
So-
Why
simply.
are you making this up?
No,
I believe in
he's
evolution.
Listen.
because he's already said
Listen.
he believe I came from a fish. He doesn't
Listen,
understand.
no, actually, which model of evolution do you believe is true?
Well, I don't believe we came
He's
from a fish.
changing the topic.
Yeah, which model?
No,
yeah.
because I was trying to give an explanation of why religion was created.
Forget that.
In a
I'm not interested in
natural
that.
sense.
All I want to know
And
right
when-
now,
no, but when,
at this
when you-
juncture, I just want to establish one thing.
When
You're
you-
making baseless claims. That's all I want to establish.
No.
Do you have any evidence to support your claim that Muhammad could read and write? Anything?
Yes.
All right, bring it.
Give me 5 minutes.
Answering his question.
I don't mind. Anything he wants to bring. Because whatever he brings will disprove the Quran. So this is good. This is Nobel Prize winning stuff.
No, don't say. I've never said
Keep
that.
googling. Don't make this shit.
I never said that I could disprove the Quran.
No, you just said. Well, you will. Because if the Quran says Muhammad was unlettered, and you're saying no, he could read and write, the Quran's wrong. Therefore, not the word of God. Therefore, you disprove the
But listen, do
Quran.
you appreciate that if you follow that line of thought, then there is nothing real anymore? That everything is effectively, purely, could be this, could be that, might be this, might be that. There's no
Why
reality.
do you believe evolution is true?
No, there is.
Why do you believe evolution is
Well,
true?
there isn't, is there?
Because
How do you know
there's-
your brain is not in some vat somewhere, and everything that we see now is not real? You're just thinking it's real.
Almost 100% of scientists believe.
Why do you believe what the scientists say?
Because why? Because they're peer reviewed. So when
Why do you believe
scientists
what they're
makes a
saying?
claim, then other scientists spend.
How do you know they're not in collaboration?
So hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of scientists all around the world are in some sort of conspiracy.
Yes. Now, wait a second.
Now you're being
wait a second.
ridiculous. Where's
No,
your
it's your
evidence?
standard. This is your standard, though.
No.
You don't need evidence for
Listen,
anything.
wait
You
a
just believe what I like.
You know the point you made
No,
about.
because
Listen, you know the point
there's
you-
certain
Listen, you know it's Red Dwarf.
Oh yeah.
There's certain.
I keep seeing the cat.
Can I just say something very quickly? So the point you made, and I understand it, about to not believe in what all the scientists are saying or say that they were somehow in some big conspiracy to falsify the truth, is exactly the point I made to you about the thousands of believers who said the Prophet Muhammad was illiterate.
No, because they didn't all know of his literacy.
How do you know that? The whole point is... So now, Tom, we have two equal understandings of conspiracy theories, but you're saying that your one is somehow valid, and the other ones who maybe say about the scientists is invalid. Now, I don't believe in conspiracy theories anyway. There's two reasons
but here's
why.
the thing.
There's two reasons
this
why.
Is hold. Can I just give you a quick difference of now and then? So now literacy rates in the UK are almost at like 90%, if not higher.
Higher, probably, yeah.
Use
like
Googling. Can you
100%.
find your Google, please?
Back in Muhammad's time, literacy rates would have been so low that literacy wouldn't have even been
So
a
it's-
thing
so
that's
it's
talked
even
about
more-
amongst
so that would
amongst
make-
the illiterate people.
So it's even more likely that the Prophet Muhammad would have been illiterate.
Exactly.
Just makes the point stronger.
Well, maybe he was, but then still doesn't.
Well, no, he can't be
disprove-
literate genius if he's
no,
literate.
No, he could be because.
Oh, he could be.
Well, Stephen Hawkins can't write things down, but he
All right.
he still.
Let me just say that again.
He does a lot of.
Can you be a literary genius if you can't write?
Of course you can.
What's
Spoken word.
Is a
Spoken
literary
word
genius
poetry.
written?
You don't have to write it down. You can memorize a story and call
Right.
that.
So are you now
literary.
conceding he couldn't read and write then?
Impossible.
Well, no, you said he could.
I said everything's impossible.
So that's the problem.
But
Everything
no.
is impossible. You got to take a stance somewhere. That's what you're
Honestly,
not doing. That's
it's
why
ridiculous.
the reason.
No, I don't think you have to take a stance.
That's the problem.
I think.
You're delusional.
No, I think belief in religion or God should be a personal.
Do you accept your delusion? Do you accept your delusion? Right, I'm going to prove to you delusional. Right, because we've given you evidence against what you believe. And you've nothing to count. Yes, it is evidence. Yes, it is.
It's just words.
We've got historical evidence.
So Tommy Robinson wrote a book. Do you believe everything in that? Like, I'm not a Tommy Robinson fan. I spend a lot of my time going to far-right rallies to debate them.
We
as well,
give you
like I'm
historical
debating you,
evidence.
so before anyone
Listen,
gets us off.
you said Muhammad can't read. You said Muhammad can
No, but
read.
people
No,
can
listen,
write anything
listen,
down. It's bullshit.
listen. You said Muhammad could read and write. We've given you evidence that he couldn't read or write, yet you still believe he could read and write, which means you're delusional, mate, because you're ignoring the
I don't
evidence.
believe anything.
Yes, you are.
No, I don't believe
No,
anything.
he's right. He doesn't believe anything. That's the problem.
No,
you got to have some basis.
No,
some
I
stance
think that is the
you
problem of our society. People believe things
So what
to
do
be
you believe,
true
mister?
when
No, he doesn't believe anything.
Hold on, what do you believe in?
I honestly don't believe in anything.
So Islam could be true then, according to you.
Are you here?
Could be, yeah.
So what are you doing then? Why are you ignoring it?
Why am I ignoring it?
Yeah, why are you ignoring the guidance?
I think it's very, very unlikely.
Why?
Like, it's one of the most
Based on what? Based on what?
based on logic.
What logic?
You haven't presented any logic. That's the thing. It's just
You're illogical. I can't believe you said you were logical. You're illogical. You're the antithesis of logical.
Humans are known for their lies throughout history, all the time. I'm not going to trust.
Do you believe what history says? Do you believe in history? No, do you? I need to know who I'm talking to. Do you believe what history says?
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes
And what is the determining factor for you to accept it to be true or not?
no, but do you not think that history is written by the
No,
victors?
what is the determining factor for you to believe
Yeah,
what
but
the
do
history?
you believe everything history has to say?
No, I asked you the question, and you said sometimes you believe it's true.
No, well, it's
I asked you the question, my man. You said sometimes I believe history is true. So I'm asking you now, what is your criteria? What is the determining factor for
okay.
you to accept it to
So
be true?
I'll believe in certain things, like I believe that we've been to like out of the atmosphere because I've seen the evidence.
Do you believe man landed on the moon?
I think that's possibly not true, but most likely it is true.
This is the
Splinters, mate!
Okay, but here's the thing.
You believe the Earth is flat?
No, the reason why.
did World
Do you
War
believe the world is round or flat?
Let me just.
No, is the world round or
so
flat?
you guys believe we definitely went to the moon, yeah?
I think the
I don't believe we're
overwhelming
having this
evidence,
conversation.
the overwhelming
I'm just trying to
evidence
understand this.
probably
It's
points
just-
towards the fact it's more rational or reasonable for me
That we did.
to believe that we did. Yes.
However, so there is one video that I've seen where they are pretending, and you can go and Google this. A funny thing happened on the way to the moon. There's a video clip of them pretending that they're further away from Earth and filming the Earth, and it's like this small. And then all of a sudden, their camera equipment changes, and the Earth expands into this massive thing. And the date on this footage is from when they should have been like almost at the moon. So if they did go, then they went and they faked some things just in case they didn't get there.
Do you think that man landed on the moon? Yes or no?
This is the problem.
Hold on. No, but I think.
Lister, do you think man landed on the moon? Yes or no?
I think we have, yes.
Yes.
But there is.
Let's not talk about that then.
No, but there is evidence to suggest that we might not have. So,
There's-
like I'm saying, both
If you
options are
can't take a
possible.
stance on something, you can't have a discussion.
No, it's true.
And that's the problem.
No.
But thank you for establishing that. Thank you for wrecking our other conversation. Claiming you're logical, and then you're.
You know what? The thing that I want to thank you, and I'm going to buy maybe coffee or something, is showing us your hair, because that's brave to do that.
Yeah.
In all the
Right?
camera.
What do you mean, right?
Showing us, the lack of hair.
Yeah.
That's quite
Honestly,
brave.
my friends don't get that, and so that's
Well, they're gonna now.
Listen, see, if you follow the stance that you're following,
Yeah, you don't make a.
The road to
you
nowhere,
make
mate.
no decisions.
Road to nowhere.
You make look simple. I say to this to people: when you bought that phone or you bought those headphones, did you do any research to find out what they were, what the reviews were, etc.?
Yeah, I did,
etc.?
yeah.
Right. Now you based your opinion based upon what?
Yeah, but that's still an opinion, and then once I have it in my hands, and then I realise, oh, this is a good product, I'm going to get it again, because I buy a lot of headphones because they always break.
But you did some research
Yeah.
and you evaluated, and on balance of probability, because it's not a certainty, it was on balance of probability that you appreciated that it's probably more likely for me to buy that product is better than that product, correct? Yeah. So you made a decision. That's how we are, human beings, that's how we make decisions. Now you ask us, what's the evidence for Muhammad being illiterate? So we give you solid arguments, historical evidence, and rational arguments in relation to support that claim, right? So on balance of probability, what you should do, just like when you bought those headphones, is that you say, on balance of probability, is it more likely that Muhammad was this literary genius, or on balance of probability, is it more likely that he was probably illiterate? And that's how we. Now, if we say no, I need absolute certainty before I believe this or that, you will never make a decision in life, and you would have never bought those headphones.
Oh yeah, IS is here.
But I think it's slightly more important when we're talking about religion.
Absolutely, and that is why it's more important to make the decision than buying those headphones.
What?
Rather than saying that, well, we don't know, it could be this, it could be that, I'm not making any decision.
The thing is,
Because, let me just finish, Lister, because the consequence
so this is Pascal's wager.
the consequence of you getting it wrong
Pascal's wager. He told me that
when it comes
Muslims
to
don't play Pascal's wager.
headphones, it's neither here nor there. You can buy another set, right?
But here we
But
go.
the
He's just explaining
consequence.
Pascal's wager.
But no, it's not Pascal's wager.
Yeah, but it's the consequence.
No.
Is Pascal's wager.
What I'm saying to you is
consequences of me being
the
wrong about Islam.
consequence of not getting it right or not caring what is right are far more graver.
No, it's not that I don't care. It's like it.
No, you really don't care.
No, God. I cannot follow a God that brings children into this world and lets them starve and suffer.
Oh my God, he's channeling Stephen Fry now. Oh my giddy.
No, it's true
How
though.
dare you?
It's true.
Okay. Can I ask you a question?
God is not something. If he is there to be worshipped, and he wants to be worshipped, then fuck God, because he is such a savage cunt. And I'm quite happy to say that.
Why do
Like,
you have, no, but why
So
do you
emotional.
But
So
the
emotional.
thing is,
No, but-
if he,
the
rationale has left the
if I
building.
have to meet him
Listen,
and then he sends me to hell,
No, why-
for-
get away
for-
from it.
for-
Why do you have
for-
to-
for
why do you
taking
have-
inspiration
But
from
why,
his prophets?
why should we resort to vulgarity?
Because that's what he has done on
why
this
should
planet.
why should we resort to vulgarity?
Because that's what he's done on this
Is
planet.
your opinion about morality and absolute?
If he's an all-knowing, all-powerful, all-knowing and all-powerful, all-seeing God, then he would not let the suffering that exists happen on this planet, because it's
What suffering?
What suffering? Come on.
So how can you hate someone that doesn't exist?
So you made decision.
I don't hate him. I'm just saying that he cannot exist for that reason.
All right.
That
So
doesn't make
because
sense.
children die, God doesn't exist. We've all from wherever you claim we've all from.
Or they get cancer.
That's what you believe.
It's because they die in ways because of him. If he's all-powerful and
Because of
all-knowing, he should have realised that sending prophets down multiple times is going to create religious conflict that will never, ever,
Do you believe that
ever
alcohol? Do you
be
believe that
solved.
alcohol is a good or bad thing?
It's used for good and it's used for bad.
You believe
I
it's a
believe
good or bad
religion is used for good and it's used for
Okay,
bad.
why do you keep changing the
I believe
subject?
religion
Do
is
you believe
used
alcohol is a
for
good or
and I
bad
believe
thing?
it's
Do you
used
think
for bad.
alcohol is good for a society or bad for a society?
It can be good, it can be bad.
How can it be
Depends
good?
how it's used.
How can it be good?
What do you mean, how can it be good?
How can it be good?
Because it lets us relax after a long week at work.
Why do you need to relax?
No, but Hamza, can I just go back to your
You don't
point?
need to. Why do you
Can I
need to
just
pray?
No, but Hamza, can I just go
Why
back
do
to
you
your
need to
point
pray?
about
Why-
children dying?
Why do we need to do anything?
Can I just
Okay,
go back
why
to
do we
your
need to
point?
pray? Connect to my creator.
No, hold on, Hamza. Why do you believe that because there's suffering, God doesn't exist?
Yeah, that's it.
Why do you
Emotional
believe
atheist.
that?
Emotional atheist.
Why do you believe that? Why is that logical?
No, so it's more to the exact point that if God is all powerful and all knowing, he would have realised that he would create religious wars and conflicts over him by sending prophets down and messages down to certain prophets, certain people, that they're going to get the messages wrong. Like he's going to realise that he's going to fuck everything up.
Okay.
Or make it worse than
Okay.
it already
I don't
was.
agree with most of what you've said, but however, even if logically what you said was correct, why does that necessitate that there's no God?
I'm not saying that it necessarily does. I think that there likely is a creator. I
So
think
you
it's
do
more-
believe in a God?
Yes.
You just said there is no.
But I don't think he's up there
He's
to
so
wanting to be.
inconsistent.
No, I don't. I said more likely. I don't think he's up there wanting to be worshipped. So, like when we
What does
play.
it mean to worship God? What do you think it means?
Hold on, listen to me. So, have you heard of the simulation?
What do you think it means to
Have you
worship
heard
God?
of the simulation theory?
Yeah.
So, if we
We're in the
can,
Matrix.
so if we can eventually create replicas of the universe, and this is what scientists actually think about, and think is quite. Some of them think it's quite likely. If we can create replicas of the universe, and our technological advancements are such that we can make it exactly the same, which is going to happen in the future, then how do we know that we are not in one of those simulations? So maybe we are our own gods, and we are just there. Like, do you know
Let's
when you
talk
play?
about now.
Hold on. So when you play,
I think we've
It's good
reached.
because it's
I
good
think we've
because
reached
you've got
a
to-
point.
We've got to the stage where we understand where
Yeah.
all this is coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because really, if you, nothing is true.
yeah.
If
Enjoy.
in the future.
So you're
Let's
a,
talk
and you're
about
a
now.
simulation. Well, we're all a simulation.
Sad thing is, you came into this argument as if you knew so much and you know something.
But here's the thing: there's so much evidence to suggest that free will doesn't exist. So
What evidence?
religion.
What
So okay.
evidence?
So there's.
What's free will?
So scientists have studied people's MRI things and other ways of scanning the brain, They make people have like an arbitrary choice. They've got to tell they've got to make a note of when they're aware of when they're just about to make a choice. And scientists can predict before the person is aware when they are going to make that choice, which choice they're going to make. There's plenty of. So a scientist can predict what choice you're going to make.
You see, you talk like scientists like it's
What's got to do with God
There's so many
exists or
different scientists.
doesn't
Which
exist?
scientist? Which branch of science is that?
So I'm aware of the studies. What are you saying that it suggests?
What did he mean by
I'm aware of the studies. What are you saying that it suggests?
So you are aware of the studies. So he suggests that free will doesn't exist.
Why does it suggest?
So let's.
Have you realised it's inconsistent and irrational?
So we don't choose what we're attracted to, what we like, or what our accents sound like. We are, if we become conscious of like, oh, we have a lisp and it's like making us become bullied, then we might go to a speech therapist and then really work hard at changing our voice. But this is why everybody in the same place usually has the same kind of accent, because we are naturally, just naturally are enticed to sound like other people. So we're born as blank slates.
We're not born as blank slates.
We're with DNA, like
genetically, not.
Sorry?
How do you mean blank slates?
So, like, we need to be. We don't know how to survive on our own, but we need to be taught how to survive in that sense. We instinctively know where to go for food.
So that's not a blank slate. So if you have instincts already.
Oh yeah, but so we've got the DNA, but that's still not like. I'm not choosing to. So a baby doesn't choose to cry. It's just instinctive to cry because something's wrong, and then eventually they get attention.
What's the point he's making?
The point he's making is that we don't have free will.
What's that got to do with babies crying?
He's trying to say that.
So a baby's hungry. It doesn't know what to do. Something's wrong. It starts crying out of instinct, and then it learns that when it cries, its mum comes over.
Right.
So then next time it cries,
So it chooses to cry.
Somebody forced you to come to the park today.
So once it realises, so what you're saying is now, when it realises, mum will come when it cries. When
That's
it wants
free will.
something, it will choose to cry.
no. So okay.
Pretend to cry.
You said we don't have free will.
Yes.
No, but
You just demonstrate is that not free will? That the baby instinctively cries when it wants something, and then when it realises mum comes when it cries, then when it wants something, it knows to pretend to cry.
So our basic instincts are not by choice; they are instincts.
Yes.
What I'm saying is, life is now more complex than basic instincts. So we also, alongside basic instincts, we have complex instincts.
Did you choose to come here today? I just want to know.
Are so complex.
Did you choose to come here today?
The choice that I felt like I made is an illusion. It felt like I chose to come here, but it's an illusion.
Why?
One verse comes to mind
Because-
after our discussion.
yeah.
This verse is in Surah Kahf, chapter 18, verse 56. Very poignant. And we sent not the messengers except as bringers of good tidings and warners, and those who disbelieve and dispute by using falsehood to attempt to invalidate thereby the truth have taken my verses and that of which they are warned in ridicule. In other words, there are some people, regardless of the evidence that you show them, they will simply find reason to ridicule it,
Like evolution.
and they will find reason. You see, does
Why do you say
evolution prove the non-existence of God?
Yeah, but why don't you believe it? Because there's so
Who
much
says we
evidence.
don't?
Who says we
Who
don't?
says we don't?
You're not.
we don't.
Well, I asked you which model.
Have you been to the?
I asked you which
British
model.
Museum?
Which model?
Yeah, I have even.
Tell me the mechanism of evolution.
So
What's the mechanism?
So
What's the
basically,
homology?
so basically, two people come together. They'll have offspring. Sometimes their offspring will come with a like a glitch.
Which model is this though? I don't understand. What's the name of it? The model. There's five models in.
I'm not an expert.
You claim to be. Well, which one?
No, I'm not an expert, but you don't need to be an expert.
So some
to
offspring
understand
come with a
that it's
glitch,
true.
yes?
So mutation, yeah?
A mutation, yeah.
Oh, so mutation, you believe in evolutionary mutation? Really?
No, hold on, we accept that. So what's the problem? Sorry?
So the mutation, sometimes that's a benefit, and that
No,
mutation
just trying to
helps them
understand.
survive.
So you believe evolution through mutation? That's your
There's numerous ways that we evolve.
No.
So there's also ways where our genes can get switched on in certain environments.
Does that disprove
and then,
God?
And then
Does that disprove God?
no, but why don't you believe it? When
Who says we don't?
He doesn't believe it.
What are you asking me to
What
believe?
does he not believe?
What are you asking me to believe?
What
What are you asking me to believe?
That we evolved from animals.
So you're asking me to believe my ancestor was a monkey or an ape-like animal or what? What are you asking me to believe? What's your claim?
Do you not believe that we evolved from?
What's your claim? Tell me what you think I
we
should
evolved
believe
from
anything.
apes.
So what's he
Is
believe?
that an absolute proof? Is that absolute?
All the evidence.
What are you asking me that I should
suggests
accept?
that
No,
it's
I didn't ask you that. I didn't ask you
99.9%
that.
of
I
the
didn't
evidence.
ask
What are you asking me to
I said,
accept?
is that an absolute truth?
It's more. There's more evidence to show that evolution is true than the Quran is.
Listen,
Hold on
I'll
a
say it
second.
again to you.
Why
What are you asking me to believe?
Why are you comparing the two though?
What are you asking me to believe?
Did we evolve from?
What does that mean? Explain to me what you think it means. What were they before monkeys?
So before monkeys, we were probably some sort of shrew.
Coffee.
I'd love a tea.
Tea, please.
A shrew. And before the shrew, what were we?
Probably some sort of lizard.
And before the lizard? Oh, no.
Some amphibious creature.
No, I want to go to the thing that he mocked me for, saying evolution was, and he's actually going to describe it. And what before the amphibious creature?
It's probably some sort of form of.
Well, say it. You can say it.
Bacteria.
No, you missed the link.
Oh, fish.
Hey! No, you mocked me for thinking evolution was evolved from fish, and you've just described evolution as evolved from fish.
So do you not believe we evolved from fish?
No, well, you do. And you mocked me for thinking evolution was that. No, I don't believe I evolved from a fish. No, I don't.
So
Do you?
So do you,
Do you?
go against? You go against the overwhelming
Do
evidence.
you believe you evolved from a fish?
I believe we evolved from monkeys,
No.
which evolved from. I believe we went down something that
Do you
resembles
believe
that.
you evolved from a fish?
Well, when you put it like that, no, I believe humans evolved from monkeys.
Which evolved
monkeys evolved from.
Monkeys evolved from what?
I mean, I don't know what the
monkeys
getcha is.
it's very, very simple. I said to you, you asked me, do I
I
believe
mean,
in
you're telling me
Listen.
that I go against all the evidence,
Listen,
but
no,
then you go against all the evidence when it comes to evolution.
What I said.
Show
you
me
think
your,
that?
show me your.
All right, one second.
Evidence that
You said to me, do I believe in evolution? And I said to you, what, I think I evolved from a fish. No, I don't. And you laughed at me, saying, haha, you think evolution means evolving from a fish. So then I ask you to explain evolution, and you explain it to me, evolving from a fish. Do you not understand what you're saying? Do you not listen to yourself?
But the way.
No, I do not believe I evolved from a fish. Prove to me I evolved from a fish.
Okay, so we have fish have this synapse that goes from their throat area to their it's a really short thing, and it goes somewhere to their lungs. Whereas humans have this same synapse, but because we've evolved and our bits have got moved around as throughout the millions of years that we've evolved, this synapse has gone all the way around our organs and then back up. So it's very inefficient for the brain sending signals all the way around the body when they need to be done really quickly. So this shows us that the fish has we've evolved from the fish, and it wasn't guided by God, because if we were made to be perfect, this synapse would bypass all of our organs and go straight there, because it's the most efficient, perfect route for it to go. But it didn't do that.
Who told you this?
It's I mean, I don't know who told me. I can't remember. But
Why do you believe that's true?
Can I just ask one question?
Why don't you look into it?
No, but can I ask you one question?
because-
We've got a doctor
No,
here.
but can I just ask you one
Is
question?
that true?
No.
In a nutshell, it's not true.
Is there nothing that I said that sound like?
You've said some things that are true, like your name, and I think everything
Everything
else.
else is like.
No, hold on a second.
I'm just joking
I'm
with you.
doubting that now as well. Because according to
Lister,
Lister,
he's a red dwarf.
according
He's made up that name.
according to
No, it's
Lister,
my,
No way did your dad call you Lister.
my surname is Lister. There
Yeah.
was three,
Oh,
there's
don't-
three
don't
people
reveal
called
that.
Mark in my class.
Yeah, I know your name. I know your name.
No, but Lister, can I just ask you one question?
Is your name Mark Lister?
Imran, look, Lister.
You look like a red dwarf.
Can I just ask you one
No,
question?
I'm not a big red
No, can I just ask you
I
one?
do like
Listen,
it.
can I just ask you one question, right? Whether that's scientifically accurate or not, to me is irrelevant. I'm asking you the question. even if that is,
in fact, it came
even if that is
from Richard
true,
Dawkins. That
even if that is
That's not
true,
true.
Richard Dawkins. No, but even if that is
know
true,
the evolving from the
I
fish
don't even like Richard Dawkins. But,
okay, but
this idea we've got
Hamza,
from
hold
fish
on.
is dead.
No,
Long
but
ago.
no,
It's a
but
new model now.
Hamza, wait.
Is it dead?
Even if that's true, why does that necessitate that God doesn't exist?
I'm not saying. I've never said that God doesn't exist.
So what's the problem then?
This is why the discussion's not fruitful.
So what's the
No,
problem?
wait, he's saying to me that as if evolution disproves Islam.
Yeah,
That's his point.
It doesn't.
And your model of evolution is debunked.
No, I'm not saying that it disproves Islam. I'm saying that you're having a go at me for going against all this Islamic evidence
No,
from
'cause
the
here's the
hadiths and
difference,
things.
Lister.
Whereas I'm going on scientific evidence.
No, you're not, Lister.
Yeah,
I'll tell you why you're not, Lister. We're explaining everything we said we believe we've supported.
No, your evidence
Every time I
comes-
ask you what you
No, but
believe, you go to Google.
Your evidence
Every
comes
time.
from people's words from thousands of years ago
Let-
who have got this
okay,
agenda
let's- let-
in
let's-
trying to
let's-
set up
let's-
this
let's-
religion.
One second. Have you done any experiments involving evolution?
Me personally?
Yeah, you personally.
I don't even think about it.
No, I think I did.
Are you serious?
Prove evolution in the lab.
No. In school, we did. I remember doing
Yeah,
some
cat a
stuff
frog.
with
Cat a
petri
frog.
dishes
Who's
on bacteria and things. So, yeah,
So what?
that's the
I
thing.
did it.
When people.
It proved evolution.
So did you? Oh yeah, because I guess you didn't do science in school.
No, but he asked you, can you do any experiments about for evolution? And he said, like, why?
Like, do you know how old I am? I'm 33 years old. So 15 years ago, I'm pretty sure I did some experiments in school.
For evolution?
about-
About evolution?
What experiment did you do in evolution?
I can't remember exactly, but there was something to do with bacteria in petri dishes.
Cut up a worm.
And the reason why we use bacteria to
Chopped a worm.
investigate evolution is because they
Evolution.
what do you call it? Breed. Bacteria doesn't breed, but they split. They split
You
like
witnessed
multiple
evolution
times.
in a petri dish, is that what you're saying?
People. So bacteria.
Do you know how many generations that you have to replicate?
Yeah. Do you know how quickly bacteria replicates? So then we can see
I think I better
evolution
let the
happening in
doctor
front of us.
So why it took us so
What does the
long?
bacteria evolve into?
Different like.
Bacteria.
Okay, so
Different bacteria.
It's
still bacteria.
The point I was trying to make.
hold on. Before you go on, because while these guys are laughing, while it takes us 70 years or to die there or thereabouts,
Oh, dear.
bacteria can reproduce in a matter
but
of
Lister, I don't-
minutes.
Lister, I
So if
Lister.
so we can go back.
dear.
Millions of years in the sense of humanity, just
How?
in a few days with bacteria.
The point I was trying to make.
Have you found something that is...
That's why scientists use
Sorry.
bacteria. So you can laugh all you want, but
Well, no,
you're
here's the
laughing
point
because
we're
you don't
making.
understand what
You
science
do not
is.
understand what evolution is. That's your
all
problem.
right.
Go on, you tell me then.
All right, evolution is a change of kind, a change of. Do you understand? From one thing to another.
Let the doctor step in.
Yes, yes.
Eventually, it is, yeah, but that's not.
No.
Evolution can just be a slight change.
No,
from-
that's
from-
adaptation.
Oh yeah, okay. So then it's adaptation through
Yeah, but
the-
we have no problem with adaptation. We have no problem with bacteria becoming a new, stronger strain of bacteria.
So at some point that adaptation stops and they all stay in the same species.
I don't believe
and,
that
and
back-
they,
does that-
and,
all right.
and they have these
No,
arbitrary barriers
no,
where
no,
they
no,
won't.
no,
where they-
no,
where-
can I just
where-
explain the
where
Islamic-
species
Let me just say one
won't
thing.
cross.
Right, this
Hold
bacteria.
on, because birds have.
All right, okay.
Birds have been. You've got this.
Adaptation.
You've got the same birds on
Adaptation.
in Africa.
Adaptation.
And
Adaptation. Yes, I know.
and
Adapting to
South
the environment.
America.
We know that.
Yeah, but they're now classed as different species, and eventually things happen.
We have no problem
But
with
they're
that.
birds.
Listen,
But they're
You
birds.
said
But Lister, we have no
bacteria
problem with
multiplies very quickly, yes? Yes?
So what
Rapidly,
difference
yeah?
is
Is
it?
that correct or not? Okay. Has
from
that
Afghanistan, somebody from
bacteria
China,
ever
so what?
become
But they're
anything
human.
other than bacteria?
He says they're different species, so what?
It will be different types
No,
of
has it?
bacteria.
Has it? Yeah, but some
One
bacteria,
half
same species.
bird, half tiger, yeah, maybe
Same
that
species,
one.
yeah?
That's evolution.
Still bacteria. Nothing new, no kind, no
Bacteria-
change of kind. Darwinian theory requires a change of kind. Becomes something else. They cannot talk about mammals. They cannot procreate again with each other.
I think that's probably the case. Yeah, I'd have to look into it. But do you know that that's definitely not happened?
Well, you said bacteria multiplies very quickly, isn't it?
But do you know that it's definitely not happened?
What, the bacteria's become something other than bacteria? Yeah, definitely, I know that's not happening.
It might have happened. That's irrelevant, though. Does that mean that God doesn't exist?
No.
I've never said
His
that
challenge
God
is this.
never
No, that's
does
not like that.
exist.
The challenge is this. He
No.
thinks evolution disproves Islam.
No, I never said that.
Yes, you did.
No, I never said
Yes, you
that.
did. You said evolution disproves the Quran.
No, I'm saying that you're telling me that I don't look at the overwhelming evidence, but then you don't look at the
misquote
overwhelming
me.
evidence.
You said
when it comes to
you
evolution.
said
If you
your
don't- if you
words
don't
were
believe
this.
that we
I believe
evolved from
evolution is stronger evidence than the Quran. That's what you said.
Yeah, I
That's
think
what
it
your
is.
words
I
were.
think that's
Yeah.
stronger.
And I'm
Yeah.
going to be honest with you.
No. What I mean by that is there's more evidence to say that evolution is true than there is to say that the Quran and Islam is true.
Have
No,
you
there's
looked at-
not.
Have you looked at all the evidence?
No, there's not.
Have you looked at all the evidence?
I've not seen all the evidence.
What's the
on
evidence
either
for the
side,
Quran?
but
So how can you make that assumption?
So 15 years ago, I did study Islam.
that's not what
for
I
2
asked you.
years.
That's not what
so
I asked
I'm
you.
not an expert.
I didn't
by all
ask you
means,
that.
and
I didn't
I'm
ask
sure
you that.
you've figured
You
that
made an
out by now,
assumption.
but-
Islam
I said
where?
you made an assumption. I'm asking you a question. Have you studied all the evidence to support evolution and Islam?
Have
the
you?
Quran? No, but I'm not making the claim. You are.
No. I'm saying that it's almost 100% true that evolution is
You haven't
true.
studied it, though, have you?
No, but according to scientists and peer
you can't
reviews.
say nearly 100%. Look, can I give you the Islamic opinion in regards to evolution?
Okay, so when I make a phone call,
Listen,
I know that it's going to
listen,
work,
listen.
even though I don't
Can I
understand
give
how
you
it's
the
going to
Islamic?
work.
Can I give you the Islamic? Because I think we're getting mixed up here.
Okay.
Islam has no problem with evolution.
No, I know it doesn't, but
It has
a
not-
lot of
it has not-
a lot of Muslims.
Let me just finish.
Why was you mocking
Let
me?
me just finish.
Huh?
Why was you mocking
Hamza,
me?
please, Hamza.
I'm not mocking.
Lister, let me just finish. Lister.
It was just a crude way
Islam,
of saying.
Lister, Lister.
Did we evolve
Islam,
from a fish? It's
Lister,
just a
Lister,
crude.
Lister.
It's not really helpful.
Lister.
It's not a helpful sentence.
Okay, Islam
Which is
has
why-
no problem with evolution.
I know it doesn't,
Islam has no problem with adaptation.
but a lot of
Can
Muslims
I
don't
just-
believe in
please,
evolution.
But that does not necessitate whether God exists or doesn't exist.
No, I know.
That's my point.
I know, but
People
my
can
point
believe.
is.
People can believe all sorts of things, right?
They can, yes,
but that does
when
not.
you go over,
but
when
that
you go
does not-
against scientific evidence,
but
it's
that-
a lot different than
but then-
going
but
against
then if they're going
a
so-
religious subjective.
But if they're then going over
evidence.
scientific evidence regarding evolution, does that mean Islam is false?
Sorry, say that again.
If those people are going against evolutionary science, and if it's highly likely to be true, let's say for argument's sake, does that mean God does not exist? Does that mean Islam is false?
I'm just talking about the hypocrisy.
But it's
of
irrelevant.
Asking me,
But
telling me that I go
no,
against
but
the evidence.
No,
when,
but my point to you.
when
my
a lot
po-
of Muslims go against the evidence of evolution.
So therefore, you're saying that you should do the same. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying I should do the
So
same.
then, what's the relevance of saying that?
But, no, because what I'm saying is the evidence that evolution is true. There's much more evidence to say that evolution is true.
But how do you
than
know
there
that
is-
when you haven't studied both in
fine.
detail?
Okay, then that's my belief,
Right.
Based on what?
Based upon
based on my
Hunch.
research.
hunch, not
not
research.
hunch.
Based on your
You haven't
prejudice.
researched.
It's based on the
What-
fact
what-
that there's scientists agree. Help me out here. Scientists.
It's based on
pretty
provable
much
facts.
provable
Because
facts. 100%.
scientific theories are
How is
different
he
from
gonna help
normal
you?
theories. How am I going to
Yeah,
help?
how are you going to help? I
You
don't
know,
understand.
we know each other.
Okay.
We spoke at
One second.
another.
No, we're like
Listen,
the expert, all right?
Listen, let me just
I'm not an
explain something to you.
expert, but I
Hold on.
do know some
Let me just
things.
explain something to you, right? Islam has no problem with evolution.
I know it doesn't.
Right. Islam,
But a lot of Muslims
but
do.
Muslims are irrelevant in this
Why do you keep
conversation.
pointing to other people? We're in a conversation
No,
here
no.
with us.
No, but you don't believe it.
What
I don't believe I evolved from a fish.
What,
No, I don't.
What
There you
Muslims
go.
believe is irrelevant. What Islam, the doctrine of Islam, i.e. the Quran, what comes from God is what's relevant. I could have a wrong interpretation of the Quran, right? And you could point that out. That does not nullify Islam. It nullifies my opinion.
And who defines the right
Right.
interpretation of the Quran?
Do you believe we evolved from fish?
No, hold on, Hamza.
Sorry?
Do you believe
Hamza,
we evolved from
Hamza,
fish?
hold on. Hamza, let me
From
just finish.
fish, directly
Let me-
from fish.
Let me just
Fish,
make my point.
monkey, man.
No, let me just make
It
my
wasn't
point.
fish, monkey, man.
But
It
he-
was much more complicated
he
than
believes
that.
anyway, okay.
But still
This is-
fish.
this
You
is why
saying
it's a
that we
silly
evolved from
question.
fish
This is why
is
it's a
something
silly
that I
question.
call polite heckling, which is something that Muslims do a lot, which is not to disprove the argument of the other person, it's to ridicule it as much as possible. You saying we evolved from fish?
I said, do you believe it?
Sorry?
Do you believe it?
there are studies that prove that
that's a
animals that live on Earth have evolved from animals that lived under,
do you believe you've
you know,
you think your
in the
ancestors
ocean.
have
that
evolved with
sentence is a reduction
If you
ad
ignore
absurdum,
all the different
a
steps of
logical
evolution
fallacy.
from the fish and to man, then yes.
Okay. Does that negate the existence of God?
No.
No. So that's the point. That's the
But
point that
I know,
I'm making.
but the point I'm making is you keep saying that I go against all the historical
proof of
evidence
what? That I
that
evolved
is
from fish.
supposedly overwhelming
The
in
scientific,
favour of Islam.
there's
But
scientific
when it
proof
comes
of
to
it. You can look it up.
evolution,
You can research about it.
Muslims on a
Show me what?
large-scale
I don't
basis
have the proof on me
ignore
right now. Sorry?
I've explained
the
to you.
evidence
I've
of
explained.
You
I've
Google it.
explained
Why
to
should I
you.
Google it?
Let's pray, guys. That's the time.
Yeah, even if evolution is I won't say fact, but I'll say the best possible explanation as to why things exist, right? Does that falsify the existence of a creator? That's my point. No, and that is my point. Now, if some Muslims believe certain things that are contrary to science, let's say for argument's sake, there are two variables. Number one, science could adapt and change over time, and it does.
Yeah, of
Or
course.
or it might not. It might be actually what actually happened. But either way, that does not negate the existence of a creator.
Of course.
And that's my
Why
point.
do you think the belief in God is more certain than what science tells you? Why do you think it's more certain than science?
Because science does not deal with the metaphysical world.
Do you understand what science
It deals
is?
with the physical world, right? How things work. I have no issue or problem relying on science to tell me how things work. I think that's a very sensible thing to do.
Do you know what science is?
But science
You believe
doesn't
in a
deal.
conspiracy of
Science
scientists, so
does
I don't
not
think you
deal
believe it
with
whatsoever.
God.
Science.
It's not interested in God. It's not interested in whether angels exist or whether there's a hell or a heaven, because it doesn't concern itself with that. And number two, the perimeters of science and the way in finding out things is through observation and experimentation, right? You cannot create an observation of something that is not observed. God.
So what happens when you
Give me
make an
examples.
What example of?
You're saying you cannot observe something that is not observed.
Can't
What do you
observe
mean
God.
by
You
that?
can't observe
If
God.
something is not, if God does not want human beings to directly observe Him, how can science prove or disprove that God exists?
You know, there's something very similar to what you're saying, and the thing is quantum physics. In fact, quantum mechanics to be exact. When it has been proven that molecules, that electrons have a different behavior when they are being observed and when they're not being observed.
Which is why I was talking about that tree.
Yeah. Okay.
No, don't go to double slit experiment.
Why
okay.
not?
No, okay. So, but what does that mean, though?
Honestly, are you going to the?
There have been experiments done
Yes.
on electrons that they have a different behavior when observed and when not observed. I'm just
It's
telling
like
you
I've gone back in
something.
time 3 years. He's bringing up the double slit experiment.
The who?
Double slit experiment.
The who?
Double slit experiment.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So the
that
molecules,
one.
when they're being observed, they have a different behavior, so they become waves.
Yes.
Please watch our videos.
Can we go?
Let's go pray.
Can we go and pray, and then we can have another discussion?
Would you like to have that discussion? Would you like us to end that so you
I
never
would
bring that
like
up
to
again?
have a philosophical discussion about the certainty of God. That is the discussion I really wanted to have today.
the
but,
certainty of God.
Yes.
And what would that entail?
It would entail me asking you, why are you certain that God exists, and why are you certain that your specific God is the real one God?
Okay. But what I'm saying to you is that what evidence would be sufficient for you to accept that parameter?
What evidence would be sufficient for me to accept your God as a certainty? The answer to that is none. Because knowledge is something ultimately flawed. It's something
So
incomplete.
you've already come with a predisposition.
Yes, but I want to know your answer to that
But
question.
it's irrelevant because you've already
My
said.
answer to that question, I can give you a long answer.
No, but you've already accepted that your predisposition is that regardless of what evidence I give you,
don't worry.
it will be unacceptable.
I haven't accepted that as an absolute certainty.
What's your claim?
Because
This is
as I
basically what I've
claimed
been
many
told.
times
We're gonna
before,
go and pray.
We're going to
this
go pray.
world-
But I
okay,
want to
go
know
ahead.
what's the point you're making?
I wanted to have a philosophical discussion about the existence of God, and about the certainty of God.
What does that mean?
It means, why are you certain that your God is the one that exists?
Why do I believe there's a creator? Is that what you're
No,
asking?
why are you certain that your creator is the real one, and why are you certain that there is a creator?
Why do I believe there's a creator?
Okay, why are you certain that there is a
No,
creator?
why do I believe there's a creator?
Why are you certain that there is a No, why are you certain that there's a There you go, you see?
We basically just had that conversation. I was saying that they say things with
There for 3 hours, so I'm just dropping in and out.
No, bro, but look, the problem is, I saw what the conversation that was going on, and the thing is, they weren't disproving anything what you said.
Yeah,
they were just ridiculing the claim. For example, the guy tried to ridicule the claim that humans evolved from fish. It sounds stupid, right? That's why he said it.
And that's why I said that, no, I don't believe we evolved from fish because
There were many steps in between.
So then he got me to do the steps, and then when I got to fish, he was like, "Well, there you go. You just laughed at that earlier." And I said, "Because you said it in a ridiculous way. What? We didn't evolve from fish.
Polite heckling.
We went through the chain.
That's what I call polite heckling. It's a strategy very, very used by Muslims here, especially
there was a point
against
where,
people who are not prepared for
and
it.
there was a point where all three of them were just like falling over themselves laughing, and I was just like,
About what?
because I was saying that they use the majority of experiments that are done. They said, have you ever done any experiments on evolution? And then I thought about it because I'm 33 years old and I couldn't remember.
It's a ridiculous question.
I couldn't remember what experiments I'd done in school, but I remember we did experiments on plants.
It's like asking, have you done any experiments on history? How can you experiment on history if it already went through you? It's something very large that can't be experimented by one person like all at once.
So then I said that they do experiments on bacteria for evolution since it has a much quicker reproduction rate, so then things can change quicker. And then it just started falling over themselves after that.
Content over everything. From your man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
And it's a really tricky one. I don't think there's a proper good answer for it, and it's one of the reasons why I can't go along with it. Is that, like I said, if God knows the future, but he makes this as a test, but he knows that somebody's going to do immoral things, he knows someone's going to be a murderer and break his law, they have no choice because he knows the future, but they have free will, but he knows the future, so he's going to get punished for something he didn't choose. That's a huge paradox, you know, and so that means that heaven and hell is unjust. You get me?
To be honest, the topic you bring